Hey, what's up everyone? We're back with another episode of Goal Hanging. This week we're talking about match days 1 and 2 of the Nations League. I'm Dan. Goal Hanging with me on this episode are Scott and Michelle. As usual, I've got my coffee, these guys have got their beer, and we're ready to talk football. Woo! Right. So, just a quick rundown really of how the Nations League works. So yeah, the Nations League is essentially split into 4 leagues based on UEFA coefficient and rankings. Games are played over September, October, November 2018. You play each team home and away. Within those 4 leagues, they are split into 4 separate groups of 3 or 4 teams. So the top 4 teams in League A will go into the semi-final and final to determine the winner of the Nations League. In June, the others will go for promotion or relegation, much like in normal football. In March 2020, we'll know who has qualified for Euro 2020.
And that's through the usual group.
That's through the usual Euro qualifying stage. And then, so what they're doing now is then the top 4 teams in each of the leagues, so the top seeds, 2nd, 3rd, 4th teams, who have not already qualified for Euro 2020, will go into playoff rounds. And there's 1 spot guaranteed to each league. So you'll get like 1 team from the lower league. So
not the groups in the league. So
no, it'll be for leagues. Yeah. Okay, so for example, like league, so say league D or League 4 or whatever it is, would be where like you've got
Armenia, Azerbaijan, kind of really low rankings.
Yeah, like the San Marino, Gibraltar's, all those kind of teams. 100%. Gibraltar. So basically, and even with those, all the results will count towards their overall rankings, and then after the Euros, it will start up all over again, and we'll get the same.
Well, there's another Nations League for like CONCACAF.
Which
they've got their own one as well.
Haven't they got like Jamaica?
They might merge them into kind of.
So there might be like continental. Will have its own kind of.
Because I'd imagine they might even end up jumping way far ahead now. They could do like what's it called, like Super Cup, is it, when the Champions League?
Oh,
and then
so
the Club World Cup.
Yeah. So where they've got like the Champions League winner. And
they might end up doing like the winner of the European one versus the that would be quite
the winner
cool.
of the African, the winner of
the
Asian.
You mean like when they do like the Club World Cup?
Yeah, Club World Cup. Yeah.
But for whoever tops their respective.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
So essentially, there's now 2 routes into the competition.
And it's nice because you're guaranteed to have a smaller nation.
Yeah, I like. Well, we'll get into it, but like,
means that
first
Ireland
of all,
and Scotland have a chance.
Yeah. First of all,
shots fired.
Don't go back to how you were in that podcast, mate. The thing I like about it is not only does it give a comparative edge to these usually quite boring games, but like you say, it gives some of the smaller teams a chance. But weirdly enough, I'm not sure how I feel about this, but it means the bigger teams are basically guaranteed to be in the big competitions, because if you don't, let's say Italy again don't get to the Euros like they didn't to the World Cup, they're like probably going to get another chance now. But which in some ways it's like, the big teams and there's more to beat England. But at the same time, I missed having Holland and Italy in a World Cup.
Oh, it wasn't a World Cup without the Italians, was it? I think they had a national day of mourning.
And the bright orange Holland shirts as well.
Have you seen Wesley Sneijder's custom-made shirt that he's had?
I have actually.
So
it's really nice.
Yeah, he's had for those of you that don't know, he's had a shirt made with a little bit of all of the strips he wore at 15 years playing for Holland.
It's a really nice kit,
It's really cool.
Did you see that current kit? It looks extra orange, don't you think? I think they've. It looks like
we're already talking.
It looks like it looks like a highlight that's gone over it. Don't look regular orange. It's like it's a kind of highlight.
Is it Nike that's still doing their
I'm not sure actually.
Because if Nike are doing them, like we know how creative Nike have been with some of their kits, don't we? Like the Nigeria one.
Oh, I do like that.
A banging kit.
Oh, actually, yeah, they actually were.
We thought
I thought you were talking about the other ones. No, because there's a lot of rubbish Nike kits. They're basically copy and paste.
A lot of rubbish ones.
But to be fair, some are quite standout, you know. So
I did see 2 hipsters on a train in Hoxton in the Nigeria shirt the other day. I was like, you're not from Nigeria, right?
You know what? Speaking of the Dutch, you know that shirt would look nice. That in orange would be pretty nice. It's quite similar to one of the old Dutch shirts.
Yeah, was it like from 80?
The orange is slightly lighter and white kind of.
There's been a real uprising. I saw it at this World Cup with these real retro style kits. Like Germany have gone back to that
well.
kit. Yeah, you know.
Yeah,
I think
really
Denmark
nice,
did. Went back to their 82, 86 kits, something like that. But anyway, football
Before
kits.
our time, that one.
Before our time.
Yeah.
A little bit of my time. Yeah.
So obviously we had the first game for England in this was against Spain. Obviously England have been drawn in a group with Spain and their arch nemesis Croatia.
Our current arch nemesis at least, yeah.
Yeah, current nemesis at least. So yeah, the England-Spain game.
Yeah, as much as I'm annoyed about what happened at the end, which I'm sure we'll get to, it felt like the World Cup was back. Like, even watching all these highlights, I really cared about these matches.
Blasting at us coming home before
yeah, like...
It's coming home's not the one.
What's the
World
one?
in Motion.
World in Motion,
yes, the old school one.
we did that on the pod actually.
Yeah.
I mean,
I didn't even know you were doing.
Yeah, Dan was a bit confused. Me and Tom
was
did
like,
it on Talking Beans. He was just like, "What are you doing?" Like, but yeah, no, I really.
John Barnes had walked in the room.
yeah, thanks, man. Really,
well done, you.
yeah, we was alright. But it really did feel competitive. Like, we played a strong team, and I think because of how good the World Cup was, not only for England, it was amazing for us. Like, we've gone on about this before, but the sun was shining, the results were there. It was, you know, people singing, dancing in the street. It was amazing. Might never ever experience that in our lifetime again. But yeah, I think coming off the back of that, England-wise, and because the World Cup was just so fun anyway. Like, there were so many good matches, so many upsets. You know, I just think basically UEFA owe FIFA, because FIFA put on, well, I don't know, but the teams put on a really good show this summer, and if it weren't for that, I think the buzz going into the Nations League might have been a bit lower.
And it was one of them where you didn't hear no crowd trouble or anything like that.
Especially after the stuff they said about Russia.
You know, everyone was
you know,
sceptical.
Tying into what we were talking about, maybe having some teams like Italy who didn't necessarily get out of the group stages, we do need to remember that actually Southgate's doing a great job in previous tournaments. England struggled to get out of the group stages, so actually Southgate's doing the right thing by taking the UEFA Nations League route seriously.
Yeah,
because there's a bloody good chance if we get drawn in a group with Spain, with Italy, or something like that, that we might not get out of it.
Yeah, so we should do at least.
Yeah, the pressure is on them to perform now. I think with England, like, what they did was fantastic, and it was amazing seeing so many people behind them. I think Southgate and the players have done an incredible job in working with the media. Let's face it, I don't think we've ever seen that in this country before. But both the media and the public have built the England team up to a certain level of expectation now, and now they've got to go on and continue to perform at that level. And by going in and taking the UEFA Nations League seriously, I think they're setting themselves up really well for that. And we've got to remember, this is a team predominantly in its early 20s. They've got the longevity in them in that sense. Therefore, why not look at it as a serious competition?
And I think it showed how serious they took it against Spain. And like you're saying, young team and all that. And some people were still saying, you know, the whole World Cup thing was a fluke and whatever else. But we performed really well against Spain, which you can think, oh, but Spain didn't do that well in the World Cup. Are they doing all right?
Yeah,
they battered Croatia 6-0 like a few days later. So,
like, a point to prove after the way they
So I think the fact that we nearly drew with them and should have drawn shows that England, England we're doing all right. I mean, I'm gutted because now I'm scared of facing Spain after seeing what they did to Croatia. And even Croatia, they might have had a bad day then, a really bad day, that 6-0 whooping. But they were really good in the World Cup. So I'm a bit worried about that as well. So I'm really not sure. This Nations League could go either way for us.
And I think also, when you think about teams like Croatia, and you sort of mentioned on the whole, people were talking about Southgate taking the easy route. Yeah, you'd rather face Croatia or Belgium over, say, Brazil or France.
Yeah.
But then there's the risk that your players get a little bit arrogant and complacent and don't put the effort in because the expectation's not there. So I wouldn't say it was an easier route. And actually, I think them being up against some really solid opposition like Spain's going to make them work a bit harder.
Yeah, and I think that's the good thing about the Nations League is where it's actually pitting countries of similar like stature against each other. It's making it more competitive because, you know, how many times you don't really want to be seeing like England versus San Marino and England just going
and
roll
England San Marino years ago, didn't we? Remember?
Yeah,
and Joe Hart sat down.
Literally,
like he was
Joe Hart
on the floor.
He got cheered
when
he
spent a lot of time sitting down at the moment though.
So this is when he was really good. So.
Yeah, he literally was getting cheered every time he touched the ball.
He
touched we could count on one hand.
Yeah, one of the guys from San Marino started running towards like our half, and
like,
we were all cheering him on. But yeah, as quite funny that night was. I'm glad those games are gone, and like to be fair to San Marino, like they're getting a chance now to face teams of their own kind of size, not to kind of belittle them or anything, but they're kind of squad talent and stuff like that, and now they've got a chance to actually grow. I think this whole promotion relegation thing is a brilliant idea. Like I think that's why the MLS struggles.
It's going to make people,
because they don't have that.
It is going to make people, take it more seriously, and it's going to make the managers think as well. Like let's put the strongest team out. Let's see if our best players can go up against the best Spanish players, the best Croatian players.
Yeah.
And especially from like the World Cups, when England go into the Croatia game, they're going to have a point to prove, and because of some stuff that went on in Croatia, the game's being played behind closed doors, so there's literally going to be not a single fan in that stadium when England play Croatia.
Really? That would be really interesting.
So,
be really interesting.
Yeah, that's going to be.
Is that going to be televised though? Still.
Yeah, Nations League game.
So they're still going. Oh, that's it.
There was no one at the Ukraine game the other night. I'm not sure if it was behind closed doors or if just no one showed up. But it was basically empty.
But I think attendance will go up in some of these games now that people see. I think people still got doubts about the Nations League, but I think hopefully, I would imagine people have seen some of the highlights and seen the strong squads that played.
But I think a lot of that is that people don't understand it.
I also think something UEFA do need to look at, particularly in this country, we know that the price of the Premier League is a constant issue, is looking at making those prices for the tickets accessible to normal everyday fans.
Like a decent
I'm not paying 70 quid to go and watching them play. Sorry, but I mean,
But the thing is, at Wembley, it's like we... the game we went to, me and Scott, we went to the San Marino game, exactly the same seat for the Croatia game, £70. For the San Marino game, because they're trying to sell more tickets, 40 quid for exactly the same tickets.
Yeah,
and yet 40 quid's probably the cheapest ticket that you can get.
But now it's competitive, so they've probably got a reason to put it up a little bit more as well. But really enjoyed this first round. And what, like you said about the teams that didn't make it, same as like Wales, who didn't make the World Cup, yet did really well in the Euros. The Netherlands, and then even like the Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland, and Scotland. They've got now. I mean, they're all in the second tier. But Scotland's in the third tier, right? So Scotland's going to have a real sense to push up.
Yeah, Scotland are in C. Wales, Northern Ireland.
Because you think about it, let's say there's a resurgence in Irish talent or Scottish talent, and they really push. Not only do they, they were going to push to get first here because they can then get into the Euros. Then they get promoted. Now they're in the next group. They're going to really try to go up again. And they're going to actually aim to win this trophy. I think this trophy is going to be something people want.
You do need to bear in mind, though, that there's a lot of controversy around switching allegiances in countries. I know there's been a thing with
Declan Rice.
And then potentially switching allegiances. And now that there's a little bit more of a carrot at the end of the stick for these players, are they going to be more likely to switch to a team like England, where they're more likely to win a trophy, or to a team like Ireland where they're more likely to make the first team? And that's a really big choice for a player to make.
It's like, do you get a cap or do you want to?
Well, a lot of people are saying, you should focus on West Ham, get a regular Premier League football. But the problem is,
Jack Wilshere?
No, the problem is Declan Rice doesn't have that. What do you call it? Like
je ne sais quoi?
No, what's that? Comfort. I'm trying to think to wait, basically. Like, he can't just, I'm going to wait it out. Yeah, like, people are going to be expected to make a decision. And if this wasn't, if it was a friendly cycle, he would have got away with it. But because it was he had to make a decision. He had to say.
Jack Grealish, I think, was in the same situation as well. He played for Ireland, but then he said that he could play for England. Like Ryan Giggs played for England schoolboys.
Yeah, but I think that's fair enough. But I think once you play a senior game, you shouldn't be allowed to go back.
Yeah,
I don't think. Diego Costa as well. Brazil and then to Spain.
Have you heard that Morocco are trying to get Guendouzi to switch his allegiance to Morocco before he debuts for the French national team? And let's face it, the way he's playing, it's pretty likely he'll get called up.
And why would you not want to join the French national team?
Why would you not want to join the best team in the world?
Even with England,
the position that he plays, it'll be tough trying to break into that French team.
Yeah, but it's like, do you join the team back to the Declan Rice thing? Do you join the team where you? It's harder to get in, but you might. I don't want to be a dreamer, especially if other fans looking at English fans as deluded. But you might get somewhere like a World Cup final, because we did get to the semis. Or do you want to be a star in an Irish team and literally help them come at the rank? Especially now in Nations League, and you have a chance to actually do that.
It's a choice to make, and I think you were talking a little bit about Declan Rice staying patient at West Ham, and there's been a lot of talk around Trent Alexander-Arnold and Ruben Loftus-Cheek not getting much game time, and I think it can affect the manager's decision, because there are players that are getting a lot of game time, performing well, And the question has to be asked as well. There's patience, but then there's actually, do you want to play for a big team like Chelsea, or do you want to go slug it out further down the table and get that game time? Someone like Jack Wilshere has made that choice, probably a little too late in his career, unfortunately. Had he done it 3 or 4 years ago, he'd be in quite a different position. But there's some quite big decisions coming up at club level, which is inevitably going to impact on various international teams in the near future. And I think there's now a lot of players are under a lot of pressure from the media, from the fans, to make those choices and fast, and possibly before they're actually ready to.
Yeah, I suppose as well with the managers, because some of them are going to get, like, they're damned if they do and damned if they don't sometimes. Like, do they pick the players on reputation? Do they pick the players who are playing regularly for their club?
Well, that's what Saka did well, though, didn't he, with the World Cup?
Yeah.
I don't care who usually plays, this is who I think.
Exactly.
To be fair, look at what that team did.
He's done a lot around creating a certain mindset in the England camp. And I think for him, he does look at technical ability, current form, game time. But I think he comes in and thinks, what can this person bring? It's like, say you're boiling a pot of pasta. All it takes is one drop of poison and your entire meal is ruined. And all it takes is one negative voice in that England dressing room to undo 2 years of good work. And I think he thinks very carefully. I know some people, myself included as an Arsenal fan, going, he's called Welbeck up again, he's called Delph up again. But actually there's clearly a way that they fit into the mentality that he's built as a squad.
And it's even with the lack of Jack Wilshere, because it felt like Jack Wilshere should have gone. But I don't know, maybe
Is
he
there
made the right decision.
something?
But then again, in a Croatia game,
had him in
missed
mind,
him.
didn't I?
Yeah, because I think we missed him in a Croatia game.
We missed that kind of
spark, really,
that spark. And I think anyone who was watching the England game on Sky would have heard Jamie Redknapp and Alex Scott talk about the lack of creative midfielders. Like, Harry Kane got the golden boot, great, scored loads of goals, but the majority of them were from penalties. And on the one hand, really positive that we've overcome our mental block around set plays, free kicks, penalties.
And half of them were against Panama. Which, to be fair, like, we probably all could have got a goal
My
against.
nan could have got them. But, you know, I think, don't underestimate me, I used to play left back.
Left back in the changing room.
Oh, behave yourself.
That was a good one.
Well done. But I think
use that.
the fact we've got over our mental block around dead balls, penalties, etc. is great.
Golden generation.
The golden generation, but the worry is he's not scoring from open play because there's no one creating those chances for him.
Exactly.
We need like a Santi Cazorla in midfield. Actually, that's what.
And I think that's where Adam Lallana would have been pretty decent at the World Cup. You know, Lallana's one of those players. Wilshere has got that as well, but.
Chamberlain, if he's played in that position.
Chamberlain, I mean, but this is the thing. It's like a lot of the time, he likes to pick players that can play in different positions.
He needs that flexibility.
You know, and I think someone like Loftus-Cheek, give him a few years, he would, you know, he'll be brilliant.
He'll be absolutely banging, definitely.
But I think the best, I admire the fact that he's staying at Chelsea this year to fight for his place.
Yeah.
But I think while you've got N'Golo Kante and Jorginho playing as well as they're playing at the moment, I don't think he'll get in that team. I would have said to him...
Even Giroud can't get into that starting lineup.
I know. I would have said to him, go on loan again. You know, look how well he played at Palace last year. You had him, Townsend and Zaha tearing it up. You know, and
Good
then
old Palace.
Christian Benteke couldn't hit a
Donkey's
barn door.
backside with a banjo.
I was going to say one more thing about England is that it's
coming
it's coming out. The whole golden generation, they all had their clubs, and that was the problem. That all those players are coming out and saying that's what it is now. The Chelsea boys sat there, the Arsenal boys sat there, and whatever else. But this team that Southgate's got does feel like sort of like a club, because I think because of the success they had in the World Cup as well, like it felt, and because it comes so quick, I felt like I was watching another club. Usually when it's international football, it's like ugh. You know what I mean? Can we just go back to the Premier League? But I was excited. I was really excited to see what happened. The friendly game, not so much.
But even that, it's like there's stories coming out in the media. Apparently, at half time, Southgate didn't say a word to the players. The players were all just literally bollocking each other.
Really?
And saying, look, we need to pull our socks up. We're playing shit. And that's what And I like the fact that he's not saying, right, I've got one captain, because when you go on that pitch, you need 11 captains on that pitch. You know, you want, everyone to fight for every ball. You know, if you throw a brick in the air, you want your defenders to go and head it away. You know, you just don't.
I mean, speaking of the England defenders, just before we wrap up on England, something I've been impressed with is that they're not perfect, but look at John Stones a couple of years ago. He was all over the shop. And he was fairly solid, and I think a lot of that is down to the relationship that Jordan Pickford has built with his back line. That confidence wasn't there with Joe Hart, and I think you can see a real difference in their mentality, and they're all captains.
Well, you could, when Butland played, it was different. You know, I felt bad for Butland because he was a really rising star, you know, like shining star a few years ago. But like he was really ropey in that.
Then Jordan came and got his rave on.
But then he's another one. Like, is he gonna suffer for playing in the Championship now? Whereas, like, if you're an England goalkeeper, you just go to Burnley and then.
Then you're but I just think, I mean, there are steps to go. The creative midfielder thing, that the dressing room mentality, but I think not enough is said about that relationship between Pickford and that back line, which has come on considerably in 2 years. Definitely. Not perfect, but it's really getting there.
But I mean, a prime example of that would be, like, and you guys I'm sure will be able to agree with that, was the famous Arsenal back line.
Of course.
Seaman, Dixon, Winterburn,
Bold
Adams.
Yeah, that was good, wasn't it?
Happy
good
days.
And then even Chuck Martin Keown in. You know,
don't speak ill of Big Martin.
They had
that man.
No, they had that much of a relationship where, like, if Bold was left out, they'd bring Keown in and it'd be the same.
Ironically, between them, not that many England caps, not as many as you would think.
No,
which is a real shame. But
I think there was a stat the other day. I think they said they only played together once for England. Those 5 players. But then you look at, like, someone like Steve Bruce. Brilliant centre back.
You have to actually physically look at him.
I've actually seen him in person. He's actually like.
Right, you know Nicholas Bentner was dating his daughter a few years ago. There you go.
What?
There's
Really?
Yeah, before he became Lord
Does she
Bentner.
look like him?
I'm not.
Yeah, she's had about 8 broken noses
so
as
did
well.
she nearly become Duchess Bentner?
Do you know he got arrested for assaulting a taxi driver on a night out?
Oh.
Yeah,
was it an Uber driver?
I'm not sure, but his mugshot's a bit fruity looking.
Oh.
There's some football trivia for
There we go.
Nicholas Bentner dated Steve Bruce's daughter.
I didn't know that. That's what this show's for, people.
Bringing all the goals.
So, going back to the Nations League, it's thrown up some, like, interesting fixtures. Like, some of the groups we've seen. So, you know, you've got France, Germany and Holland in one group.
Well, France, Germany was a 0-0, wasn't it? Did you see that? Was it after that game that France basically threw a party? And just sang around.
Probably.
They brought the World Cup out, didn't they?
Mad.
They
had a cool team right now, man. Like, they were just literally dancing away, like having the
dabbing with the World Cup.
They deserve it, man. They played wicked in the World Cup. You know
what? They did. They really did. Right, I got France in the World Cup sweepstakes at work.
Oh wow, got Sweden, right?
Yeah, and I was literally, just give me the money now. I was like, what are you on about? Then at the end of it, I was well smart. It was really good.
Yeah, not a bad pick.
But I think with France as well, they're just on a serious note. They're at this point where they're playing the ultimate total football. They've got the technical flair players. They can go in and thump a team 7-8-0.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not that much, but like 3 or 4-0.
Yeah.
And that's where their Griezmanns and everyone like that come into play. But then they've got that slightly more negative style of play, because I know Deschamps been criticised quite a lot for being quite a negative manager.
Yeah. What was it they used to call him? The carpet sweeper or something. Something random like that. Yeah.
They've got this.
Water carrier.
Water carrier. That was it. Yeah.
Carpet sweeper. Oh, I didn't know, so I was like, maybe. But when you said what it actually was, I'm like, wait, that's well different.
But you know, Didier Deschamps he's got them banging out these massive wins, lovely technical flair. You know, that's when you kind of Griezmanns and everyone come in and you're Mbappe's. But then there are times when France go, actually, do you know what? This team are going to be difficult. We're going to grind out 1-0. That's where your Kantés and your Giroud's come in.
Yeah.
We're just going to get our heads down. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be technical, but it's going to get the job done.
Yeah.
And they switch between those two ways of playing so fluidly now.
It's the best way, isn't it? It's like if you can't win the game, don't lose it.
That's it. And they've got that kind of that beautiful, almost Spanish style football we were seeing a few years ago. And they've got a little bit pardon my French, Jose Mourinho part of the bus mentality, and it's worked really well for them.
Speaking of Giroud, that goal.
Wow.
And I think it was Van Dijk he managed to get around as well, which ain't, you know, he's not there.
He's not the smallest lad, is
yeah,
he,
exactly.
Virgil?
Yeah,
No,
he's quite talented himself, that guy. So yeah, that was a decent goal.
It's because he didn't have the world class Dejan Lovren partner.
Dejan,
that's what it was.
Exactly.
If he had Lovren would have been able just to come in and sweep it all up. Yeah.
I was going to say, Mbappe was quite dangerous in that game as well, carrying on was good form. Griezmann's
was that the Holland
cross
game?
Into him. Yeah, the Holland game. Again, it's a shame to see Holland lose. I'm glad to see Holland play again, but
I did miss them.
Yeah, and Ryan Babel's hair.
Yeah,
it clashes with that shirt. Let me tell you, it's
definitely.
But Giroud, I mean, imagine if he shows his kids a compilation of his best goals done.
Some of them have been pretty good.
I don't think he's Ronaldo.
Like, the scorpion kick, which was
That was for us.
Oh,
Really good, yeah.
Oh.
Really good. That's the best you got.
It was
It
really good.
Really good.
But then you had Mkhitaryan's one, who now
He
probably
plays for us as well. Eh?
Arsenal fans are probably thinking that
Yeah,
now the
which is
Mkhitaryan
better.
one's better
That was
because
better,
he
that was
plays for
better.
Arsenal
Yeah.
currently.
Giroud's one was better, but Mkhitaryan's one was really good as well.
I suppose as well though, you look at some of the goals that he scored when he was at Arsenal, that was because the way Arsenal used to play, it made them look a lot, like the goals look a lot better, some of them as well. Where like some of the players wanted to walk the ball and he was
He's
quite
a
happy
great target man to
he
have
was
up
quite
front.
happy just to
Great
thump one
target.
in, you know. Whereas you're playing along the floor, he's like, just stick it in the fucking air, I'll stick my head on
It's a
it.
shame he didn't do that well in the World Cup.
Yeah.
But you know what? He might not score goals, but it's
Yeah.
been said a lot. The space he creates for other players,
holding up, yeah.
because he's so big and he's a target man, he draws those defenders away so that your Mbappe's and Griezmann's can make those runs and score those goals. And that's why Deschamps continue playing him. And I know...
I think that's why...
yeah.
It's going to sound really weird. That's why Peter Crouch used to do so well for England.
I love that guy.
Because he
like
used to
Crouchy.
have...
Bring back Crouch.
He literally used to have all the little... You imagine him in the England team now. Pump the ball up to him.
Yeah.
Rashford,
Yeah.
blooming...
Exactly.
Rashford and
Harry
Sterling.
Kane, he
Bring
would
him
have
back,
the golden
man.
boot. Not
Southgate,
the-
call him up.
Yeah, call him up, Gaz.
Crouchy, let's do it.
Call him up.
In the words of Ian Wright, well, I never officially retired either.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Did
Call
Peter
him back
Crouch
as well.
actually retire?
He never played enough.
Right, Ian Crouchy up top. I think
Um,
Ian Wright, 33 games, 9 goals. Stat.
Oh, thank you very much, Dan, the Statman.
Statman Dan. We touched on Ireland and Wales earlier. The game between those two, quite good.
Yeah,
Bale's
that was
goal
4-1.
was phenomenal. Bale's really come back into form now, and I think it's gonna having the Welsh team did quite well in Euro 2016, obviously getting semi-finals, and then his like resurgence in the Champions League final with that incredible goal. I think now that Ronaldo's gone,
He's out
because
of
it looked
Ronaldo.
like Bale's
He's
going to
the,
leave.
he's the
yeah.
main man at Madrid.
Yeah,
And
so-
questions have got to be asked around why was he being benched so much. You know, it looked like he was going to go and now he's not.
At Madrid, probably he
Good for
might
him,
he
man.
may have fell out with Zidane. Who knows?
But yeah, Ramsey got a good goal in that game as well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And the Roberts goal, the last
Roberts
one
goal.
that they scored
It was
was
his first
really
first senior goal, wasn't it? Yeah. Good on
Pretty
him.
good.
Lovely stuff. Well done.
And like we touched on England, I like what Ryan Giggs is doing with the Welsh team as well. Like it's obviously installed in Ryan Giggs from his time at Man United, bringing the
Yeah.
youth through. Some of the players that he's brought through on the Welsh team were quite young. Like he's brought the average age of the Welsh team down as
And
well.
let's be fair, like Ryan Giggs was the star for Wales.
Exactly.
Like, and like you know, we were saying off air that he could have played for England because he played for them in the schoolboy level. But you know, managed to play for Wales, and he must have, you know, when you're a star like that in a national team who aren't as, you know.
Mind you, his argument will probably be, well, actually, Ryan Wilson played for England, Ryan Giggs played
Yeah,
for Wales.
true.
So-
Yeah, true.
He just
But
likes
like
to-
he knows what it's like to be Gareth Bale, basically, is what I'm saying, and you know, Aaron Ramsey as well, because those two are definitely the standout players. But I think because of that, just like Southgate having played for England, having gone through the failure of missing a penalty, I think he is a perfect fit for England, and I think Ryan Giggs is a perfect fit for Wales right now.
I think though with Wales, they need to not be one of these countries that's going to rely solely on one player. Like they can't have this mentality of, well, if Bale doesn't play, we're not going to do well, because you know they've got enough talent that's coming through, like the youngsters that will like pick up. That's like you have mentioned Aaron Ramsey. He's playing quite well at the moment. You know, he's one of those that can fit into that number 10 role behind the striker. He can drop back into midfield. You know, I'm sure if they stuck him out on the wings, he could do a job as well.
Another star man who didn't show up is Ronaldo. And,
Cristiano was on holiday, wasn't
yeah,
he?
and Portugal did all right without him.
Well,
you know, and
They
I
beat
think
Italy.
They
I
beat
think-
Italy 1-0.
No,
and-
no Gigi in goal.
they needed.
They had
They needed to do
Donnarumma.
this.
Donnarumma.
They needed to do this. I think they needed to show people that even without Ronaldo, we can grind out a result. And yeah, Italy might not have made the World Cup, but they're still Italy. You know,
Yeah, they've still got quality players there.
So yeah, that was good for them. Trying to think of any other big games.
We had obviously the Spain-Croatia game we touched on briefly. 6-0.
Yeah.
Six different goal
Spain,
scorers.
I think Spain wanted to prove a point, not only from the World Cup,
Yeah,
but
you're
also
shit, Spain. You could only score 2 against us.
But even that, the England game, because I mean, what a joke! That was a goal.
David De Gea in that game.
Yeah,
obviously,
well,
Dave Desay.
Yeah, but
Dave
he's the one who, because he stayed on the floor to make it, I'm hurt in the
Or
Spain
did he
England
do
game.
get a split end or
Oh,
something?
it was ridiculous,
Probably.
man. And like, literally, he's the reason that goal weren't given, because there's so much attention to him. And this is where I'm going to get to the biggest point I will make on this show is we need V.A.R. We need
Oh, I
VAR.
don't know.
Are you a bastard?
Mate, I am a bastard. Like VAR is like my.
They're
It
trying
felt
now in
like
the Premier League.
when I realised that there was no VAR in the Nations League, it felt like my favourite player wasn't playing. Because I was like, no, there's going to be a problem here.
I did like the little close-ups of the 4 guys sat in the room, and today your VAR
Yeah,
which is
but like
Gianluigi from Italy.
I like how they're all sitting in full kit as
After
well.
we touched on the last episode and on the Talking Bees podcast in the summer, basically pretty much all the decision they made turned out to be right. And I think it's going to be, there's some growing pains still.
There's always going to be teething problems.
But
I'm
there's
a little bit annoyed though with the players doing this. Like,
yeah, that's the new yellow card, isn't it? So a red card. But yeah, I mean we'll see, because I really think it should have come in, because that would have shown it, and we would have got that goal. And it wasn't even that. It was like before it. I was like, I really hope this is part of it. Looked it up online and realised we weren't in the Nations League, and then when it came back to bite us, you know, and not only just because it's England, but I really do think, like, why would you not have it in?
I mean, the thing is, it's one of them where if you're going to throw it out at the World Cup on probably the biggest stage in world
you can do
football,
it in the Nations League.
I'm sure you can do it at a game in.
Yeah.
I would agree that the majority of the decisions were right, but I did feel like it really slowed down the fluidity of the game.
And I think
It
that's
started feeling a bit American football.
I think
Yeah, but I don't think
that's
it
the
did it
thing
as
about
much
the
as
Premier League, though.
I thought it would.
Yeah.
It definitely did, but not as much as I thought it would. And I just think in time it won't. I think in time that it'll be a
But
lot.
And I think
yeah,
that's
there
why
must
the
be an
Premier League are
outright-
trialing
I
it.
think
Well, did you-
think if players do this, automatic yellow though, because it just gets on.
Yeah,
my
that's
nerves.
I mean,
the case.
I've said since they mentioned about doing like the VAR stuff, I think the referees should be mic'd up like they are in rugby.
Yeah. Well, did you hear the was it the FA Cup?
The Michael Oliver thing.
Yeah, did you listen to it?
I've
It's
seen it,
fascinating.
yeah.
Literally, so basically they released audio of what a VAR decision is. And was it the FA Cup game?
I think it
Chelsea
was,
Man United?
yeah, the
And it
FA
was
Cup
basically
final.
a penalty, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And you
Phil
hear the ref
Jones-
going back, yeah, and they're talking to each other. It's fascinating. It's just like the rugby one where you hear them literally talking to each other by first names and all that. It's quite, you know.
It's like,
But
yeah, it's a
swearing
penalty,
at each
it's a
other and all
penalty,
that,
he's
but-
pulled him back, it's a foul.
Yeah, so they were talking, he was talking to his assistant and all that, and basically you saw, because
You
it looks
hear
like
that
nothing's going on
communication.
when you're watching it, but there was so much conversation, and I think, yeah, having that live will help, and it will give the referee some, you know, some pull, because it will stop players
It will
basically
it
abusing
will cut down the swearing as well.
Lots of the players are doing this now. We've seen a lot of that
Yeah,
over the last
yeah.
year. You just do that in rugby, whew, you're out. I think
Yeah.
actually some footballers do need to learn to respect the referee a little
It's
bit.
like the best one I always like though, going to rugby, Nigel Owens, when he's talking to like guys that are 6'8" and he's like,
It's like me going on a rugby pitch.
Oh, you usually do the impression. That's why I started laughing. You usually do
we
an
just
impression.
having a
of it.
moment.
Yeah, I started laughing because usually you do his accent, but you know, you let go this time. But yeah, cool. How'd your Gibraltar do?
played 2, lost 2, isn't it? Pretty much. They're still doing better than West Ham this year.
What?
Gibraltar have only lost 2 games. top
So
4.
what are they in? Are they in the 4th tier?
They're in the 4th tier alongside Macedonia
To be fair,
and
It's
Liechtenstein.
not started well for them,
and
but again,
someone
just for a team like Gibraltar, they've got a chance to come up. So that's
Yeah.
why I love the
I mean,
Nations League now
probably
already.
not having
Like, you can
lost.
imagine-
Yeah, maybe
Okay.
not.
You can imagine like
Maybe
Gibraltar
next
versus like San Marino. That'll be a competitive game.
Yeah.
You know, who wants to go and watch like Gibraltar getting smashed 8-0
Yeah.
by like Belgium? I'd rather go and watch them play a team that's of similar like, stature to
Stature, yeah.
themselves, have a nice competitive game of football with them.
But do you think, and I was just having a little think about, the UEFA brought this in for a number of reasons, haven't they? We've sort of gone full circle back to
Yeah.
Nations League. And we talked a little bit earlier before the show about friendlies. And I've got quite, I mean, yeah, we would rather watch a competitive game,
Yeah.
of course we would. But I was thinking, as a club manager, you have loads of pre-season and loads of different competitions to train your squad day by day,
Yeah.
try out your different formations, get your first 11. International managers only really have a week or two to figure that out.
Yeah.
And it's high stakes doing it in a
Yeah.
competitive game. So I don't think the complete removal of international friendlies, which I don't think that's the entire aim, but they are trying to reduce the
Yeah, I
amount
mean,
of friendlies.
when
I don't know if it's the best idea.
when you said, because I up until you mentioned it before we came, you know, on air, I was thinking, no, don't want any friendlies. But then when you mentioned it, and I started thinking about the England Switzerland game, as boring as it kind of got, and as it didn't feel like it actually meant anything, it was good to see Southgate try different things.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. It felt like a bit of a pre-season game, and you kind of still do need that. So I think there's still a need for friendlies.
It's just
But they've got to find that
yeah.
right balance, because I know people are moaning, oh, but you know, if my player goes to this game and I don't care about Nations League and he gets injured, then what? It's going to put more pressure on him. But at the same time, international football should be the pinnacle of football.
Yeah.
So I think the fact that you can go from a World Cup where it's the greatest thing ever to an international break and it's like, oh, where is the Premier League? It's too extreme.
I mean,
so there needs to be a middle ground where the friendlies are there to help like a pre-season would, and the Nations League acts kind of like a League Cup or
like
Carabao Cup, so that kind of thing. So
I mean, I'll be really honest and say that I'm not always the biggest fan of international breaks, and I'll be very, very open and say that this is probably the first international competition, the World Cup, where I've actually genuinely been interested in the England team. I've always been more interested in the Italians or the Dutch, really the two teams that didn't make it this year.
So you had to watch England this time.
Shit, England.
Damn it. And it's just because we've not really had that success rate, because there's not been much emphasis, there's not been a positive relationship between the media and our team.
I think it's as well because everyone sort of hyped England up so well and been like, England, they're
going
to
do it. They do every time, though.
But then this time, this
time
it was different. It's because it was like Southgate is like still relatively new to management.
Connection with the players as well, like you said, with the media and stuff.
And it's good because, as I touched on before, that he's worked with a lot of those players at under 21 level, so he'll know the mentality of the players. He'll know, okay, well, if I ask this one to just slot in at left back, they'll be able to. If I asked him just to play slightly here, play with these players. And
one player that I do want to talk about is Vardy. And this whole retiring from unless you really need me. What do you guys think of that?
It's like a wrestling retirement, like one more match. If the crowd chant loud enough, if the crowd chant loud enough, he'll just come running out the tunnel. So international retirement in general, which I don't necessarily agree with it, because for most players that's like the pinnacle of their career. Like, you get some players that
should be the goal.
Some players have gone through and they've never ever had the opportunity to represent their country, and for someone just to turn around and say, "Oh, I don't really want to be selected."
And let's be honest, like as much as Vardy had a great season in that year for Leicester, and he's done all right for England, he's not really been a star where you can go, "I'm stepping down now." That's like Rooney did. Like Rooney was our top goal scorer.
But he's been an international player for 3 years.
And so he only got called up because out of nowhere, he had a massive rise from the lower leagues and great, man, really good. But that should be more reason to stick to it, because you would have never been called up before.
And he's won more Premier League winners medals than Harry Kane. So.
Nobody knew who he was. And credit to him, he was amazing that year for Leicester, and he's still decent. And that year we got linked to him at Arsenal, I would have took him. But but
no, seriously, I wouldn't. I don't rate him.
But there's a backup.
Vardy or Welbeck?
Wells.
That guy Wells.
That's right.
Sounds like Welbeck.
But Jamie Vardy is
do you want to know why I think he did it? Because I think he knows he is never ever going to get selected ahead of Harry Kane.
Yeah, you think
even
he's
ahead
just
of
annoyed.
Danny Welbeck, and it takes us a little bit back to that talk we had about the squad mentality.
Yeah.
And
maybe.
And I think as well,
I think he knows because
you've got Rashford there as well, who can play through the middle.
Do you think he's a bit
Sterling as well?
I felt Rashford played quite well.
And I think as well that was one of those
strong.
with Southgate where he's like, okay, so he's not really been playing much for Man United. He played 10 minutes against Burnley and ended up getting sent off stupidly.
Yeah, that was a bit Berkey, wasn't it?
And then he's gone out. He's played 2 games for England, scored 2 goals in 2 games.
I think it's a mentality
thing. But then
again.
He'll go back to Man United. He's obviously got his 3-game ban, but then he'll go back to sitting on the bench playing second fiddle.
Now's not the time for me to go into Jose's management style, particularly with attacking-minded players. That's for another time. But I think for Jamie Vardy, I think there's a little bit of a, shall I just step down because it ain't going to happen. You've got to bear in mind, how old is he?
31.
31.
Yeah, but just like you said, just
quite
always
old
keep that option.
But then he said
it's quite old for a striker.
But if he comes in form, he would get picked over Harry Kane. The fact is, when he finally came into the squad, Euros 2016, him and Kane, we were so excited about both of them because they had an amazing season with Tottenham and Leicester. What did they do at the Euros? Now, to be fair, Harry Kane gets the Golden Boot of the World Cup. Congratulations, really good. A few of them penalties, whatever, some of them bounced off him, fine. But, to be fair, he got the Golden Boot. Whereas Vardy, he got a bit injured in that World Cup as well.
A bit injured.
But at the same time, what?
He couldn't even take a penalty against
Colombia. It's not like you've had the glorious England career. I appreciate what he's done for England, and I do think he's a decent player. So maybe it's adding to why I think he should be stepping down.
I think he's all right. I think Vardy has hit his peak, and I don't think he's got.
It's like he hit it too late, really.
He hit it a bit too late. If you look at other strikers of around his age, Giroud is around his age. A couple of Cristiano Ronaldo is older, and look at what they're doing. And Vardy's kind of hit his peak.
Yeah.
And this is an England team that is still growing and developing, and he's not going to continue at the same rate.
Because it feels like
and
he's fresh and new because of how he burst on the scene literally like 3 years ago.
Not.
But you're
he's
right,
quite
he's not.
old.
Yeah.
And I think he knows. Maybe it's an honesty thing with himself. He hasn't quite got the developmental phase left in him that your Kanes and your Dele Allis and your Trippiers have.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it. Maybe he's just grumpy. Maybe he just likes having a bit of time off.
But then the only thing is we've got to think if there is an injury to Harry Kane.
But he said he will do it.
He said if needed.
If need. So then what's the point in saying
why
he's
say it?
retired?
Yeah,
why
say
not
it?
just have a private chat with a manager? Like, look, don't select me for a couple of games. You know,
But I'm with you. I don't like it when Rooney stepped down. Like, just still be there. You might not get. I think it's that maybe that pride. You don't want to not get picked again, so you go, I'm out. You know,
yeah, he's bowing out.
You know, I want to have my little, ticker tape parade. And that's it. Same as Beckham. You know, like when there was the whole talk about Beckham possibly playing for Team GB and stuff like that. I wanted him to, because like Giggs still played. You know, they'll come to the end of the career, but when it's come to a tournament like that, we could have done players like Beckham. So you know, there's going to be a time. I mean, say Nations League was around when Beckham was around.
Yeah.
Like maybe he would have stayed longer, thinking, you know what, I myself might not feel as good as I used to be to really make a difference in the World Cup, but I could help in the Nations League because I love my country.
I could play the odd game here and there, particularly when it's at that time of year when the Prem players have had a really heavy month. We know November is historically quite a heavy month, particularly for Arsenal, because we really do quite badly during November. But you know, and we also need to remember something to think about from Vardy's perspective, as you're right, being a backup player. This England team's made of a lot of Spurs players. Now, without wanting to get into the technicalities of my opinions on Spurs, their first 11 are great, but they don't have a massive squad. So that squad is under a lot of strain. 8 maybe of them get called up for international duty just to England.
Yeah, well, even from the semi-finals onwards.
Yeah, then you've got Christian
still...
Eriksen out at Denmark and everything.
Yeah.
And then you've also
got Lloris driving around like a nutter.
Lloris, or not, for 20 months, as the case is. But then you've got Lloris at France, etc. And these guys are playing their 38 Premier League games, their FA Cup games, their League Cup games, their Champions League games.
Ironically, the only place in London you can watch the Champions League. Sorry.
What?
Come on now.
Tottenham.
Come
but
on.
you can't because they haven't moved into their stadium.
Wembley.
Anyway.
Or Milton Keynes for
Milton
the
Keynes,
Carabao Cup.
but generally speaking, these
they're going to need
Tottenham don't rotate their squad as much just because they don't have the size, and they're going to need a rest, and that's where players like Vardy could have come in. And whether Southgate had that discussion with him, I don't know.
Because I mean, you think Vardy most likely would have played the Switzerland game.
Probably.
You know, he would have got a fantastic ovation. The game being played at the King Power as well.
Oh, yeah. He probably would have started ahead of time.
Well, he was in the crowd, wasn't he? So.
But you know, there'd been some quite unpleasant talk around the Leicester players and removal of managers and the power that they have, and actually is there a little bit around his reputation, the way he operates in the team, in the dressing room, what Gareth goes on and having it, I don't know.
The Vardy party.
Well, or not, as they say.
The Vardy hangover right now. But,
2 aspirin and beans on toast for Jamie Vardy, I think.
So yeah, coming up on the next episode, we will be talking about some of these fixtures. So we'll be talking about Poland, Portugal, Israel, Scotland, the big game between the Faroe Islands and Azerbaijan.
Might not be on
Kosovo v Malta. That's the
just mention the big ones, mate.
So the big games we'll be talking
What's the
about.
big games in the next round, mate?
Okay, so the big games we're going to be talking about in the next round will be Poland v Portugal, Israel, Scotland, Belgium, Switzerland, the big match between Croatia and England, as we mentioned, being played behind closed doors.
Be interesting.
Austria versus Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
Big one in League A1 is Holland, Germany.
Wow.
It's going to be a very good game. Republic of Ireland, Denmark, if Denmark decide they're going to show up to the game.
They did
and the Republic of
like the
Ireland
Wales
find
one,
each other over WhatsApp and all this
Exactly,
stuff. And
Roy Keane, if Roy Keane's going to go round and nut anyone.
Can still effort and Jeff and everyone.
Then you've got Poland, Italy, the same week. Spain versus England. So the return.
So we've got 2 games next time, haven't we?
The revenge.
Yeah. So we are playing
England strikes back.
Croatia and Spain in one week.
Oh.
So we're playing on the Friday.
Jamie, we take it all back.
Yeah, and then
I'm looking forward to those England games. I'm a bit worried about 2, but see, that's why it works in our favour to have the friendly after our competitive match. If it was the other way round, I think it'd be a bit annoying. Like, we're a bit tired. We played 3 days ago, and now we've got a competitive match. Whereas we actually had the better draw because we're in a group of only 3 teams, so one of us will get a break each time. Apart from international. So
like November time, because there's only 3. It's like in November you've got Croatia v Spain, and then while that game's on, England are playing against USA at Wembley instead.
USA who beat Mexico surprisingly.
And that's proper football. Not
real soccer.
Not the one where you pick it up and throw it.
Come on,
man.
I lose that demographic, man.
To all 5 of you, we hope you are still tuning in. Now, we come to the part of the show where I ask the guys a question in the hope of them earning themselves another pint. So, it's going to be international related, and as I'm joined by 2 Arsenal supporters, I'm going to make it Arsenal related as well. So, for you guys, I'm good to you guys. Which Arsenal player has the following record playing for England? Which Arsenal player has played 22 matches for England?
How do you know this? Statman down over here, man.
22 England games, 1 England goal. You don't want to hear the options first?
Yeah.
The 3 options are Ray Parlour.
Fuck, that's completely read out.
Ray Parlour, Lee Dixon, or Alan Smith.
Oh, they're all really could.
I should know this. My boyfriend's going to kill me.
I'm gonna say.
You're going to put your hand up.
Up,
Wait, so Parlour, Dixon, or Smith?
Yeah.
Parlour.
Oh, I was gonna go for that.
So you got the fitty choice. And if you're wrong, I get a coffee.
I'll go with Lee Dixon.
You'd be correct.
Yeah!
Lee Dixon scored for England.
Oh, what a guy.
So, as we saw, Scott got the correct answer with Lee Dixon. Michelle's glass is empty, my cup's empty, Scott's got his full pint. We're going to go, but you can check us out at revnoise.com, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all the usual places that you'll find us. Subscribe to us, listen to our podcast where we talk about the World Cup, we talk about other football related things. So, all that's left for me to say is thank you to you guys for watching. Scott and Michelle, thanks for goal hanging. Check us out next time. And just like Ruth Van Nistelrooy, thanks for goal hanging.
I was just going to say, I can't stop burping. Hey! I was all keeping mine in.